The news of the day is Aaron Rodgers and what the Pittsburgh Steelers will have to do at quarterback if he is unable to play, This is where we are at today. According to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, the Steelers quarterback is, quote, 50-50 to be on the field against the Chicago Bears. He wants to play. The Pittsburgh Steelers have to see if he's able to do things like grip a football and take a snap, which you think left broken wrist, okay, doesn't impact throwing the football, but it does impact holding on to the football. It does impact taking a snap from Zach Frazier, who's had snapping issues this season. Aaron Rodgers is a guy that we know wants to play against the Chicago Bears. We know wants that final revenge game. We know wants to go to a city that he has claimed he has owned for a long, long time and walk out of there with a win, one more. But at the same time, the Steelers have a reliable backup in Mason Rudolph. We have talked about this reliable backup in Mason Rudolph. That's the reason that they signed Mason Rudolph to begin with. He may get an opportunity here. And then there's the third part of this, which is maybe this is a glimpse into the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback position that they could take the opportunity to have today instead of waiting for the future. I'll start with the big question here. Do you think Aaron Rodgers plays on Sunday against Chicago? What's your outlook on how he'll treat this compared to kind of how the Steelers are going to treat this?
Well, I think there's no denying that he wants to be back on the field as quickly as possible. And I think if he's steering the ship, he's probably going to be back on the field. I have high doubts, many doubts as well, that Aaron Rodgers can be taken off of the field unless he just absolutely cannot go. If it is just an impossibility for him to, take a hit or for him to possibly go down without protecting himself, then yeah, of course he can't play. Barring something like that, it just seems one final revenge game, one last time for him to go against the Chicago Bears. How does he not step onto that field? How does he not step onto that field and try to dominate one final time? I really think he's doing everything in his power to be on the field next Sunday. Contrarily, I think the Steelers, they probably want to do everything within their power to make sure he does not play against the Chicago Bears. And I think that was probably for the betterment of their team. I mean, you look at it and you probably say, do we want our 41, almost 42-year-old quarterback to really push it in week 12? Or do we want him to save that for week 17, week 18, wild card weekend, possibly be whatever the situation may be? I know which one I'm picking. And I think it's, for him to sit out in week 12. And I'm not sure where that's going to, where that intersection is going to meet and what comes of it. But, I think Aaron Rodgers wants to play, and the Steelers are probably like, we wish you didn't,
Yeah. I was told yesterday, immediately after the game, that Aaron was pushing so hard to go back in against the Bengals when the Steelers were winning and then winning by a lot. I mean, it did not feel like Mason Rudolph was on the field very long against Cincinnati because Kyle Duggar, James Pierre were doing the scoring. The Steelers offense was doing a lot of time on the bench. And Aaron was still the guy. Let me go out there. Let me go back out there. Let me go back out there. He wants to play against Chicago. He loves to rub it in that city's face that he owns them and he feels confident that he could do it again. And he wants that opportunity. But you're right. The Steelers have to be cautious about this. This is big picture viewing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is not a week by week situation anymore. This is, we are 6-4. We are in first place in the AFC North. One game means significantly less to us than the next 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever. And I get it. Me, you, and Billy Bob down the street could sit here and say all day long, the Steelers, they got to get to the playoffs first. But the Steelers are thinking, once we're there, what can we do? They have to be thinking big picture. They have to be thinking, put Aaron on the bench and leave Aaron on the bench for a game. I doubt they're going to make him active as that third quarterback, but if he's open to it, sure, why not? I look at it more and say, you prepared for this, and this is okay. Mason Rudolph is a very capable spot starter. I think Mason Rudolph's very capable, could probably win you 9 games in the NFL quarterback. I don't know if he's going to win you a Super Bowl, but he could probably win you 9 games in the regular season, and that's what the Steelers brought him in to do, is to be that guy, be that reliable backup. Now you get that. It's a no-brainer in my eyes to put Mason out there and just let him go and hopefully you walk away winners. And I get it, Chicago looks good, but Chicago's offense looks good, and that relies a lot on your defense. And you might not be with Jalen Ramsey in this one, so maybe you're going to miss it anyways. To me, Mason is the easy answer. I'll also like, is there, people are going to tell me no for this, but I'm telling you, there's a possibility it's a yes.
You're going to ask it, aren't you? You sicko.
Like, is there, no, it's not the Will Howard question. No, okay. I'm not going to say Will Howard's going to start. Well, unless you think Will Howard gets the opportunity, you think the Steelers pull a Mason Rudolph and do what they've done 90 times and say, oh, we'll give the rookie quarterback a shot.
No way. I think it's Mason's team if Aaron can't go, and I think that is definitely the best way to move forward for at least for a week. Okay. But I mean, man, I think people are going to be knocking on the door like, I think these guys should play Will Howard.
Yeah, Will Howard. I was kind of hoping he got the last snap of the game, little victory formation. Do you look at this? Maybe I'm way off brand here or off base here, but I kind of feel this. Do you look at this as a possibility that the Steelers are getting a glimpse into their starting quarterback next season? Because if you get a week with Mason Rudolph, let's look at it. You go back 4 months. You go back 2 months ago, beginning of football season. Mason Rudolph is not in the plans. He is not a starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2026. Where we sit today, you're not looking good in the quarterback class. That's becoming very evident. You probably are not bringing Aaron Rodgers back. I mean, like the guy's getting beat up now. He's running into sacks. He's not playing as well as he was 2 weeks ago. I mean, Aaron seems to be off the table here. Nobody in the city of Pittsburgh wants a Joe Flacco or anybody else. I mean, Will Howard versus Mason Rudolph does not seem so far-fetched right now as the quarterback competition for 2026. And if that's the case, you get a look. You get a look at Mason to see, hey, he's 29 years old. How far has he gone? I don't know. Maybe I'm nuts. I think that you get a glimpse of the future. I think you get an early look and you should take advantage of it and say, is Mason good with this new offense and this new team? And last time Mason started, Matt Canada was his offensive coordinator. Let's remember that. This is a different situation. I'm not saying it's, Kyle Shanahan. This is not Andy Reid, but it's not me out there. It's not my mom running the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, which was pretty much the equivalent. I don't know. I think it's a little bit of looking into the future here, a little bit of a look ahead to what's next.
I tell you what, man, I think it was maybe a week or two ago, we talked about the crazy quarterback carousel that is sure to ensue in Pittsburgh. And I just don't think it's a wild thing to say Will Howard, Mason Rudolph, some rookie draft pick are the three quarterbacks competing for the Pittsburgh Steelers job in 2026. So, I mean, listen, you got to go Mason here because it's another must-win game against the Chicago Bears. He gives you the best chance versus Will Howard. But if he struggles and if Aaron Rodgers is, as much as we are hearing and it seems like he's trending towards playing rather quickly after suffering this injury, if anything sets him back and Mason Rudolph falters and struggles, I think you have a guy in Will Howard that they are not going to be afraid to turn to if the situation dictates it. I don't think they're just going to hand him the keys immediately. They want Mason to succeed, but things go south. National champion Will Howard, he's getting the keys. John Gruden's front row.
John Gruden is front row, and I think if Mason stinks by halftime, sure, you put Will Howard in. You say, hey, how good is he?
Sure.
Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you put him in there? I don't think you start him, but I also think that if you went into next season and it was Will versus Mason, Mason would have an upper hand in that competition. I'm not saying he'd win it. I'm saying he'd have an upper hand in the competition going into training camp until somebody tapped Mike Tomlin on the shoulder and said, just in case you forgot, that's Mason Rudolph. And then Mike would go, oh, my bad. Second string, put him back there. But let him go for the week. Let's just keep his hopes up, and then we'll crush them on Friday. I think that there's reason beyond an injury to see what you have in the backup quarterback here. And you never know. What's the craziest scenario in your head that tells you that Mason plays well enough that you have to bench Aaron Rodgers? You got to toss it out there.
Oh man. It has to be such a dominating win. He has to complete 75% plus of his passes, which I do believe he did in relief of Aaron
He
Rodgers.
did 12 to 16.
12
12
to
to 16.
16. We call that a passing grade. And I think it'd have to be at least that, multiple touchdowns, and not 12 out of 16, right? We'd have to see 25 out of 30, something on a larger
Yeah.
volume
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
see that
Yeah.
he is controlling the game. But if he's able to do that, throw a couple of touchdowns, play turnover free ball, I mean, you have to have the conversation, right? If this team is trying to win, I don't know. Maybe the 29-year-old spot starter gives you is the hot hand you ride for an extra week or two while Rodgers recovers. Maybe that's the conversation we're having in a week. I don't know. I think they're going to be very eager to turn it back to Aaron Rodgers after
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph gets the start in Chicago, but you know, that's why you have your backup, is so just in case this happens, you can turn it over real quick.
I think 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the Steelers win a nice little win here. Nice little win here. Mason starts again in week 13. And I'm not saying that Aaron's hurt. I'm saying this is Justin Fields 2.0. Shout out to Justin Fields, who got benched today. This is Justin Fields 2.0, to where the Steelers are just gonna ride with him, and we're gonna see what happens. And then you're gonna let Aaron just heal and continue to heal and continue to heal. That's what we do.